Hello everybody, this is your Torador's extended warranty and my new model. Um, First and foremost, I wanted to say that this video is one that I did not really want to do. Part of me originally wanted to do this video, and the other part of me was like, you know what? Wow, my throat is like clogging up. Part of me wanted to do the video. The other part of me was like, you know what? Um, we're just going to, it's being done ad nauseum. At this point, it's basically clickbait. It's basically like a huge cultural, like, just huge thing. And it wasn't until I saw a recent post that I decided that I was going to talk about it because I think that every single person talking about this issue is people people always talk past one another. That's just a, you know, functional reality. It happens all the time. But the frustrating part is we are not attempting to talk to one another right now. We are talking past one another in a way that is socially destructive. We are destroying ourselves as a culture, and it very much shows. Um, and I really just don't know how to go about explaining this video isn't scripted, and I know that realistically I should script videos. It makes things a lot easier to go over and prevents me from looping and stuttering and all this other crap. But I wanted to I'm going to cover this. I'm going to cover this because I want to put a nuanced take from, I guess, a position that's not really being covered necessarily, and it's frustrating. It really is. Um, so, first and foremost, we are going to start with this. Um, Hasan Piker, the communist scumbag, um, commented on the uneffable losers in gaming sphere while sharing his thoughts on those liking Pragmata. A lot of you have probably seen that there has been a large swath of individuals who have compared liking Pragmata to basically being a pedo bait game. I have a huge disagreement with that because I feel like it's more of a watering down of the term pedophile, which has been, we've been consistently watering down language for the past like 10 years now. Nazi means nothing, racist means nothing, fascist means nothing. It's just person I don't like. And I honestly believe that the destruction of communication has been intentional. So, first of all, there's that. Second of all, I wanted to basically go on and say that this take from Hasan Piker doesn't shock me. But then again, Hasan Piker isn't exactly swimming in women, and I always find it hypocritical that he talks about anything dealing with predators, considering that he went to a brothel in Germany, bragged about it, and that brothel got in trouble for having a 16 or allegedly having a 16-year-old there whom he could have done stuff with, which means that guess what? She wouldn't have been consenting, and he would be a diddler by his own, I mean, by most of the world's standards, actually. Maybe not, Muslim standards, but we're not going to talk about that because, being able to consummate a marriage with a 9-year-old is just barbaric. Regardless, so there was that, which the reason that I was showing Tim Pool talking about this is because he's actually covered this a few times, and he's kind of relevant to the story of why I wanted to talk about this. So this is Mary Morgan. And she posted this basically saying, "Hey, look, hold on, let me."
Which is funny because she's a
Sorry, I had to play audio because my headset turns itself off if there's no audio playing through the headphones. It's happened to me a couple of times. Um, but let me read this. Actually, I'm just going to play lo-fi in the back because that'll make things significantly easier. So the video, in case you're curious, actually, I'll just show this because it's what I listen to sleep. It's Midnight at Sector 7, Deep Focus Cyberpunk Jazz Lo-Fi, Final Fantasy 7 inspired. It's just like a live, like, lo-fi thing. It's dumb, but it works for noise when you sleep. Anyways, lots of strange reactions to this game. Let's clear some things up. Childless men do not have paternal instincts the way that childless women have maternal instincts. We observe this even in the way that little girls play versus little boys. Men first experience paternal instincts once they have their own child. And typically, those paternal instincts are only ever felt for their own children and no one else's. Men are not nurturers. Men do not gush over cute kids in public. Men don't have baby fever. If a man wants to possess a child for any reason other than being a product of his own lineage, he is likely a predator. And you'd be taking a feminist radical gender abolitionist position to protest any of the above points. This should explain why a dad simulator game, marketedly mostly to childless men, gives people the creeps. To which she followed up with, nope, this one. Wait, yeah. Those denying biology here. Would you hire a male babysitter? You meet your kid's kindergarten teacher and it's a dude. How do you feel about that? What do women have that men don't? Are we beginning to understand each other now? Men aren't women. None of this is a knock against men. It's just true. So I I firmly disagree with her sentiment here. But it's not the fact that she said it, it's how she said it. So let's make this smaller just so it's on screen, and then make this smaller. Bring this over here. Okay, just so it's on screen and you can see it. So the reality of this, and why I think everyone is talking past one another, is I've been hearing constantly that men don't feel paternal instincts, and she says that it is a feminist talking point to say men have paternal instincts. Um, Men don't have paternal instincts until they have children of their own. Men have a biological impulse that is the desire to protect. When men and women both see something small and defenseless, generally speaking, their entire like personhood is just like, I kind of want to protect that. Now, you can train yourself out of this, that's the reality. But she is actually falling for what I refer to as the old feminist trope. Which is to say that she is falling into a trap that feminists have trained women into, which is that men are uncaring, unfeeling monsters, and they are a predator by default. When I see this message, my entire first thought is that she is effectively calling men predators. Would you like your kid to be babysat by a man? And honestly, if it was a family member and I trusted them, yes. If it was a good friend and I trusted them, yes, I wouldn't care. Because I don't make a distinction. Because here's the fun fact. While, yes, statistically, men make a higher propensity of individuals who are predators, this statistic is mostly due into the fact that one, women often do not get caught being predators, so there's that. And two, there's also the other fact that 9 times out of 10, a lot of society does not view women who are predators as predators. They view them as, oh, well, oh, she's just coddling the baby, or oh, she's just, changing the baby, blah, 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 blah. Women are seen as, um, how do I put this without being extremely insulting? people have basically put out as if women are these innocent, pure angels who are the most caring, loving, and just paternally protective individuals on Earth because biology says so. And yet they are make up the majority of individuals who kill young children by default. It's like if we're going to look at stats ignoring how like skewed they are based off of faulty data, let's look at stats. Majority of baby killers are women. Majority of child predators, according to statistics, yes, are men. So, would I rather my kid be traumatized or dead? You shouldn't have to pick, but I would rather my child be alive personally. And this whole notion that men are predators by default, and by predators I mean sexual predators by default, is just extreme feminist propaganda. Like, it really is. Like, if you. I'm going to say the word like a lot, and I hate myself for it. If you take the fact that men have been conditioned for the entirety of their lives to not show excess emotion, to especially when it comes to the millennial generation and a little bit after the fact, don't show emotion, don't seem like a threat, don't do anything that could hurt a woman, and you are taught a laundry list of things. So if a man goes, oh, look, an adorable child, from a purely, like, what's the term I'm looking for? From the same, like, perspective as a woman. Or not exactly the same, obviously, because, yes, I acknowledge men and women are different. But the reality is kind of just men and women are different insofar as, yes, biology does train your mind. That's a fact. I'm not going to deny this fact. Where I specifically disagree with Mary Morgan in these posts is the fact that she says that men first experience paternal instincts once they have a child of their own. And typically, those paternal instincts are only ever felt for their own children and no one else's. This is a weird statement to me because that basically implies that men are not protective by nature, and generally speaking, they are. A man will protect a woman and a child first before they will protect another man. It is a biological impulse. That protective nature exists in men in the same metric that it would be protecting a family or a community. That instinct is paternal, broadly speaking. You can say it's not, but it is. And it's the whole men are not nurturers. Not in the same way that women are, no. But that doesn't mean they can't be nurturing. Men nurture an environment of discipline. The word nurture is actually very broad. Well, let me actually read the definition of nurture. Care for and encourage the growth or development of. Nurture may have a certain definition to certain individuals, but let's look at the actual definition. Care for and encourage the growth growth or development of. So if you provide a safe environment for a kid, you are being nurturing. If you provide a strict environment, but a responsible environment for them to be raised in, you are nurturing them. But I think that people, like Mary Morgan, have this twisted notion of nurturing being coddling, which I frequently have issues with people using weird definitions for words that are strictly cultural and not anything else. And it's people like Mary Morgan and I'm not going to mention like the frustrations I have with the man, but Matt Walsh too. Like their version of conservatism is a very strict, very 1950s tainted by feminism conservatism. I don't know how else to explain it. It is the brooding old man who does nothing but sit on his ass, go to work 9 to 10, like freaking 7 in the morning to like 8 at night, and then drink a cold one and watch sports and, find time to be a dad and do nothing else, have no hobbies. I said I wasn't going to yap about it, and I did anyway. But regardless, those are the types of conservative people I don't typically tend to like or enjoy at all because realistically, they annoy me. It is a very dated ideology, and it doesn't work. This whole like stoicism is the only thing that you should care about is a faulty premise, and I hate it. Stoicism is not a bad thing, mind you, but when you're when people preach stoicism, especially in a generation of women who act like men, it doesn't do anything because a lot of the time you will end up in a relation the man who is trying to be stoic will be in a relationship with a woman that he's supposed to be able to trust, and the moment he loses his stoicism in front of her, she may very well develop the ick, as it's so aptly called, and just decide, oh, fuck, he's panicking, which means that he's clearly like not manly, and I should just never see him the same ever again. I have heard so many stories of this happening to guys, but I've heard this story from women too, talking about how they saw their boyfriend cry and how it was like such a major turnoff that they never saw their boyfriend, fiance, husbands the same ever again, and how they thought less of them for it. And I'm like, we're fucked as a society. We really are. And no, I didn't curse earlier in the video, trying to avoid YouTube's, you know, omega slap of doom. But I just don't think that this tweet is like good. And then one of the bigger reasons that I brought up Temple earlier with the Hasan coverage is because realistically, Mary Morgan is a host of a show called Pop Culture Crisis. If you wanted to call her out for being a host of Pop Culture Crisis, by all means. But apparently, bounding into comics and several other outlets decided that they were going to be like, Tim Pool employee, Mary Morgan says dumb thing. And then Asmongold called her a femcel. And you'd think that this is like a dumb internet drama, and normally something like this would be. But this is a culture war issue in and of the fact that men do want to be fathers. And a lot of men are being trained out of this idea that they want kids because they're being told masculinity is toxic. Masculinity is bad. And the only way masculinity is not toxic, the only way it's not bad, is only if a woman is expressing masculinity. And it's like, no, actually. And there were several tweets in regards to like targeting Mary. It's like, oh, she's a Tim Pool employee. Of course her opinion's stupid. And it's like, okay, this is just dumb. If you're gonna critique someone, critique them. Don't bring up a third party that has absolutely nothing to do with it. It makes no sense. You shouldn't do it because you just make yourself look stupid. And then there was a VTuber. No, there was a VTuber and a guy. I'm gonna actually have to check my own freaking history on my videos watched for this. Um, Words of Paradise. And I don't know who the hosts are. It's a VTuber with blue hair and a guy. And he basically just fired off ad hominem after ad hominem after ad hominem about Mary Morgan and just called her a dumb, ugly bitch and just all of this other stuff. Maybe I'm misquoting him. You can feel free to watch the video. It's called Smug Alana Roast Pragmata Controversy into Oblivion. Which, honestly, I think Alana's coverage on it is probably one of the best. But the reality is, the reason that it's a culture war issue is because we are being told that men do not experience a desire to be a father, that men want to own women and children for predatory purposes. And Mary would probably come out and say that's not what this is and that's not the point I was making. But her tweet very much reads exactly like that. And it's like, oh, would you trust a man to be your kid's kindergarten teacher or babysitter? And it's like, if I'm trusting statistics, then yes, actually. I want my kid back alive. Thank you very much. Now, sexual predations on kids is extremely bad. Like, legitimately, if you prey on kids, you are the worst kind of human being. And I'm never going to back down from that. But the reality is, we treat women as if they are these, like, dainty little innocent angels who do no wrong, the ultimate nurturers of all mankind, and they are just biologically like the greatest thing on earth. Mary would disagree with what I just said, but the reality, or disagree with how I phrased what I just said. But the reality is that's how she very much makes her argument. This video game is not about a guy owning and like kidnapping a child. It's literally an android that is basically very childlike in nature. And the main character seems to want to protect that android the same way that a father would protect his daughter. And then there's the issue of like, you're basically making an argument against adoption too, which is weird because you're supposed to be a conservative. But if you're making an argument against adoption, you're basically steel manning, in the worst way possible, mind you, the pro abortion argument that it's like, oh, well, the kids will never be loved as much as they would from their original parents, so the liberals who think abortion to the point of birth are actually correct and that we should get rid of all babies. And it's like, do you not realize that's the argument you're making? Apparently, Asmongold, I know I said this earlier, called her a femcel. I haven't actually seen his reaction to this whole thing, but I find it weird, awkward, and stupid that a bunch of women have basically seen this video and been like, wow, men are predators, men are disgusting, men are pedos, and it's like, why are a bunch of liberal, moderate, and conservative women all unilaterally coming out and saying that men wanting to be protective of innocence or something that is perceived as innocence is seen as predatory while ignoring the statistics on how often women kill babies and like children? I find it funny that we're not allowed to talk about that. And Mary, again, Mary's argument is very feminist in nature, and she doesn't even understand that her argument is very feminist in nature. She's agreeing with Hasan Piker, of all people, despite not understanding that. Piker, who is allegedly a child molester, which, I should be fair, allegedly a minor diddler, but that's beside the point. And of course, if he sees this, which no, basically no one will, because I am not a person of like fame, and I don't want to be famous, but whatever. Regardless, I think it's just really frustrating that I have to deal with the general stupidity that I have to deal with in regards to this, because everybody was like, wow, Tim Pool was so like easy on Mary Morgan, and he's like, he really wasn't though. He lives up to his name, Fitz Fence Sitter, 9 times out of 10. He just wasn't vitriolically against her or for her. He was like, in on principle, I agree with some of what she said, but I think that she said like some extreme stuff that I don't agree with. And he's allowed to be a fence sitter. He's allowed to have a moderate opinion. And the fact that we live in a world where you just have to fall on one or the other side of the rage mob is just so dumb. Like, this literally reminds me of the McDonald's, like, Japanese McDonald's ad of a happy family. And it really makes me understand that, everybody's going to say that this is like a conspiracy, and it's just not. Marxism has taken root in the United States, and it's been slowly festering for years. And part of the Marxist doctrine for how to destroy a society is to get rid of the family unit. Make kids and young people basically vassals of the state. So that way they can convert them to what they need them to be it soldiers, be it activists or whatever. And you see the results every single day. You see anti-family propaganda basically everywhere. And then you have a bunch of people saying, I just don't want kids. And it's like, why don't you want kids? Is it because you've been tainted by anti-natalist propaganda? Is it because you've been told that being a boss bitch CEO is going to fulfill you with happiness? It might, right up until you're 50 or 60 years old and you're alone in a house full of cats and you end up as one of those weird Hollywood reporter or movie outlet types where it's like, oh yeah, I just do wake up, do drugs and masturbate. And it's like, that's not a life. It's really not. But the reason I wanted to make this video, other than to shit on Hasan, which everyone should, because he's an awful human being, is the fact that, and he doesn't live up to his ideals, which is a different video entirely. I just think everyone is talking past each other. I think that this whole thing has whipped up a rage mob, and I think a lot of people are ignoring the fact that men do have paternal instincts. They have a protective impulse, and it comes from the desire to protect the things that you think you should care about. Whenever I saw the trailer for Pragmata, and I watched the interaction between Diana, whatever, Diana and Hugh, it very much reminded me of interactions I've seen with adults and kids. And he's like, kids. And like he puts himself away and she's like, wait, did I do something wrong? And he's just like, Diana. And she gets all happy. And it's adorable. It's cute. The whole concept idea that men aren't allowed to find things cute. Men aren't allowed to like be happy about certain things. It's just there's so much there that just is harmful to modern day society. Stoicism and being protective is a good thing to a point. But to think that men just don't have paternal instincts until magically they see their baby and the entirety of their biology changes and their brain changes, it's like, oh my god, I'm all of a sudden a parent, blah. It's like, no, you don't even have to see your kid for the first time. The moment that a person who wants to be a father, whenever they realize that their wife is pregnant or girlfriend is pregnant, etc., they are happy. They are excited. They are like, I'm going to be a dad. From the point of them understanding, hey, I can be a father, that desire to protect kicks into overdrive. I'm going to assume that this is also likely the case in instances where like men adopt, or a mother and a father who maybe have lost their kid and can't like conceive again, they adopt. And this whole idea of like, well, that father's never going to really love that daughter like his own, so he shouldn't even bother, is such a dumb sentiment because Mary might not understand that's the argument she's effectively making, but it is. But I also disagree with these guys from like Words of Paradise because they basically ad hominem attack her for no freaking reason. It's like, dude, attack her argument. Like, I understand the enjoyment of calling somebody a communist dumb fuck, but at the end of the day, like, if they act like a communist, I'm gonna treat them like a communist. But the whole, like, it was like a diatribe of, like, names to call her. She's a dumb liberal bitch. It's like, she's not even a liberal. She's actually somewhat far right. It's dumb. Like, I don't know what freaking Asmongold's view on this was, but watching everybody's reactions to this has been mind-numbingly stupid. It's like, oh, she's obviously a liberal. It's like, no, she's a conservative that's been brainwashed by feminism over literally years to hate men and think women are these ultimate, like, caregivers that do no wrong. It's just dumb. People are human and they are flawed. But the whole, like, men are predators, women are protectors and nurturers is just such a dumb prospect to me. And just again, going over the definition of nurture disproves her entire point. And calling people predators for wanting to be a parent is disgusting. Basically, what this rolls around to, and what I'm trying to get my point across as is, we really just need to stop talking past one another. We really do. And the ad hominems, the useless, like, name calling of bitch, cunt, like, all this other, like, libtard, etc., is just, it's unwarranted. Like, again, I am guilty of calling people dumb communists and nitwits, but I don't typically go into, like, really derogatory name calling because I don't see a point in it half the time. If a person pushes me to the point where I am, like, that vitriolic, I normally wait to respond, or I just don't really do a response. At the end of the day, a lot of people are going to have a lot of opinions on it. Modern women in the West are going to have the opinion of, wow, this is pedophilic that men want to be dads. Or the Mary Morgan of, wow, these men all want to own a child. And it's like, none of you are right about this. Hasan's not right about this. Mary Morgan's not right about this. All of the angry Western women who think that wanting to protect a small, like, android child is somehow predatory, all of them are stupid and wrong as well. But maybe let's stop the clickbait. Let's stop the rage bait. Let's target, I say target, let me address the people who you have a problem with. If you have a problem with Mary Morgan, call out Mary Morgan. Be like Mary Morgan from Pop Culture Crisis. Don't use a headline to drag Tim Pool, who has no relation to this, into the mix. He doesn't care, and he was actually critical of the extreme nature of what she said. But broadly speaking, he lets his employees say whatever the hell they want to as long as they're not going to jeopardize his company. That's kind of where he stands, which is honestly where most companies could learn from that. That's actually a really charitable stance. And even then, like, the left and the right and the middle all just devolving into this, predators, pedophiles, everything and everyone is a pedophile. It needs to stop. You're watering down a word that has a really horrific meaning, and you are basically insulting people who have been victims of actual pedophiles, offending pedophiles. You need to stop. I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of all of this. It's unnecessary. The reality is and needs to be, this is a video game that is supposedly of a genre called the sad dad trope. Men do oftentimes want to not just spread their lineage, but they want to be protectors and they want something to protect. Having a wife, having a girlfriend, having a child, all of those things are help that whole nature inside of them. And to see so many people basically condemning men for wanting children, it's kind of wild. And realistically, it's unnecessary and it's disgusting. And here's the last thing I'll add, and this is just kind of a cherry on top of the cake, as it were. The idea that women don't actually sexually assault children offends me. And I'm not talking like, oh, I'm so triggered. No, I'm actually legitimately fucking offended. Because some of my friends had to go through that whenever they were children with women. But it's seen as okay and permissible when it's a woman doing it. So the idea that men can't be trusted at all around children, but women can, it's such it is such a fucking feminist like propaganda thing that it makes me legitimately angry. And that's the reality we live in. A branch of Marxism has infected, which feminism is a branch of Marxism. And it's not one of those, oh, everything is communism. No, in this case, it is. Feminism is a branch of Marxism, and the reality is it is destroying the family unit. It is destroying society as we know it because it is telling children don't love your parents, don't trust your parents, don't want to be a parent, just die. Be a hedonistic person and die, which is a morbid concept. And that's the world we live in. So, this is your Torador's extended warranty talking about the dumb Pragmata controversy, which is probably days from over. Until next time.